All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining this week's Profoundly group chat where we connect with leaders, professionals, and builders across the HubSpot ecosystem, solutions partners, app partners, and beyond. I'm really excited today. We have a really special guest joining us. Aaron Platt is joining from Sales Momentum. He's the CEO and founder, and I'm really excited to dig in here. Aaron, I've got a bunch of questions for you. I think you've scaled differently than a lot of other partners out there, so eager to dive in. But first, let me just start with thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. When
Uh,
you shot me the email, I was like, "Yep, I'll do this again." The first time we did this, it was fun. So I'm excited.
nice.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. And so much has changed. I mean, I already commented you've got an awesome setup there. It sounds like a lot is happening. Before we dive in, for folks that might be a little less familiar, do you mind sharing a little bit about kind of your background and how you got started?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll do the long story short for you guys.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I've kind of opened a lot of different doors over the last like 8, 9 years. But really, so I got my start in a very long time ago. I was actually managing bars in a college town, and the ownership changed, and I was sitting there at 18 years old, and they were basically like, "Hey, we need somebody who can do marketing." I was like, "All right, are you guys like, does that come with extra pay?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's $1,500 a month." So I was like, "I'm a marketer, like sign me up."
Yeah.
And anyway, so I got my first stab at like, actually marketing, right? So attribution on sales, different stuff along those lines, websites, you name it, social media. And anyways, I did really well. The owner asked me to do all of his other stuff. That got me into a few other things. I started doing some e-commerce stuff. And long story short, I ended up kind of going down this path of starting a marketing company where we were doing content curation distribution for really anything and everything. It was back when I was like 19, 20. And that actually led me to Miami for a conference where I met another individual who wanted to do events, so business conferences. So I was like, yeah, it sounds awesome. Let's do it. So we started doing different conferences kind of around the country. And our first one went really well. We lost all of our money. So all of it. We thought we were going to make money on, ticket sales and this. And if you know anything about events, you don't make money from the event. That's for
Yeah.
sure. So, but we did a really good job. And there was about 350 people there, about 30 different speakers. And it was a really awesome event. But we were, maybe $150,000 in the hole. I'm 20 years old. I don't know what's going on. My partner
Yeah.
is a little older than me, but basically what ended up happening was we had everybody asking us, well, what's next? What else do you guys have, et cetera? And we started a crowdsourced consulting company. Basically, we would pay big names to come in and consult. So at a very early age, I was able to kind of leverage this audience that I had. We had probably a few hundred startups paying us a subscription basically to connect them to bigger consultants, right? So we'd pay the consulting fee. They'd come in, coach groups of our startups, and we were kind of connectors. So that's how we were adding value to people. We could go get the
Yeah.
bigger names. They could bring in their resources, their trainings, whatever.
Yeah.
And so we did that for about 2 years. And anyways, me and my partner decided to split off. He wanted to pursue real estate. I was, kind of all in on this startup space. It was fun for me. And one of the companies came to me and said, "Hey, what are you doing next?" I was like, "I'm not sure." And they're like, "Well, we've got, XYZ problem." And I was like, "Oh, okay, sales team. I've been good at sales, been good at networking, doing all this stuff." So I basically went into building my first sales team, and that was a SaaS startup out of Indiana. I basically grew them from about 20K MRR to about 500,000 MRR in about a 6 month period. It was all basically outbound cold leads, basically grinding it out. Anyways, it was a very successful first venture, and that's kind of where I was like, okay, I'm really good at this sales team thing, right? That's kind of
Yeah.
where I found my passion initially. And this was when I was right around like 21 years old. And anyway, so after that project kind of came to an end, I had a lot of individuals kind of starting to contact me to do something similar, right? I want you to come in, take a look at our sales team, uh, basically roll some heads, right? Re-recruit, retrain, rebuild. And so I did this for a very long time. This is where I kind of found some success a little bit, right? I started making pretty good money. I was on rev shares with the companies, some equity, and I was doing 3 or 4 of these projects a year. And so anyways, I built up a pretty healthy track record of just being really good with sales team development and scaling
Yeah.
that side of the business out. And long story short, we were hiring all these different companies and we were built off all these different tech stacks. So there was really no like congruency between the projects I was doing from like a system standpoint. So I was hiring these companies to come in, operation companies. We were spending a lot of money with them, hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening actually was I was telling them what I needed done, how I wanted it done, and then ending up just going in and doing it for them with a lot of these projects.
Yeah.
So they weren't actually able to do what I was asking them to do, and the timelines were long. So I ended up taking a few of these projects, saying no to the agreements, and basically doing them myself. And when I was doing that, I found HubSpot as kind of okay, I like this more than everything else.
Yeah.
Right? This was early on, so I still wasn't 100%, I just knew that I was getting way better results here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, long story short, I found that I could scale companies faster through more of a systems approach and not dealing with all of the people aspects as well, by really just following kind of the sales infrastructure setup that I had built while I was building these teams. So for actually taking them over, and bringing that into kind of a systems approach, right?
Yeah.
Implementation, migration, adoption, all of this stuff. And I think what happened for me is because I understood the sales team at such an intimate level, so the actual setting role, the closing role, the management, the CR, like all of it, um, that really became what people started coming to us for. And that's
Yeah.
where one of the initial companies that I started, which we took from zero to Diamond, I think in like 3 months, um, came out of. And then I basically split with those partners, just because we weren't, it wasn't a good partnership. And I started Sales Momentum, and Sales Momentum, very quickly grew. And so that's kind of how we found our lane. And a little bit of background, I skipped a lot of stuff, but
Yeah.
I really started early on just doing a lot of different stuff, random things, and that kind of opened different doors. And eventually I found the sales team development side, which I was just very naturally good at, didn't have any training.
Yeah.
And long story short, that led me into dealing with a lot of system bottlenecks, problems. That was our biggest bottleneck with a lot of these teams, especially when we would scale them very quickly. And quickly realized that because of the experience and because of what I knew from the sales aspect, bringing that into a RevOps and a systems approach was something that was very unique to the industry, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, anyways, that led to Sales Momentum, and we've been running Sales Momentum for a little under 3 years now, and it's been it's been an explosive journey.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's my background. I mean, there's a lot of other components there, but that's kind of the story that's
That is
led
so
us
cool.
to about 3 years ago.
Yeah. You blew up on the scene. I mean, from, kind of out of nowhere, you disrupted and like really some explosive growth, I think, back. This was like probably 3, 4 years ago, whatever it was,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Um, And, I was talking to the community and we were thinking about today's session, like one of the things that kept coming up was like, he's done it very different than everybody else. Like, you got to join and listen. Like, it's going to be a great conversation because nobody's doing it this way, right? Like, nobody sort of goes out and one of the things that you mentioned is you've really generated your own demand, like
Yep.
in entirety. Um,
Yeah. I actually pulled up, so I had our uh, manager at HubSpot pull a report. So we're at overall lifetime of all of the business we've done with HubSpot. We're at a 98% basically self-gen for anything that we've brought to HubSpot, right? So
yeah,
um, yeah, and to be honest, I think it's more like 100%. I don't think we've taken, if I was actually looking at this after we talked, we've taken one intro from HubSpot
that's
in
wild.
our entirety of our business with HubSpot,
Yeah.
which is interesting. I mean, I don't, I'm not sure how familiar they are with levels, but we went from zero to platinum. I think it was the first time in 90 days, the second time in just over 90 days, somewhere around that mark. And then Diamond very, very quickly after that, Rookie of the Year. Anyways, and this was purely off of our own self-gen. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, we've grown really quickly, which has forced me to think, like, look at the business model and say, hey, what's most exciting to me?
Yeah.
And where are we actually heading? Because where we're heading right now is like a 200 person, massive, very high overhead, low margin, hard to pivot, not very agile company. And, you know, when looking at that and facing that where I'm at right now, because I enjoy the fast pace, I enjoy the agility of being able to pivot, and it just didn't quite feel right. So we've had to adjust a lot of different things on how we actually service, what the market is looking for, um, and just who we want to work with and what kind of business we actually do. So
Yeah.
it's put us in a pretty interesting way that we work with our clients now.
Mm.
And it's been catered basically over the last 6, 7, 8 years, slowly building up to this point where now what we do is very different. Um, but it also gets the fastest results. So it's more aligned to what we want to be doing. It gets faster, better, more sustainable results. And on top of that, from a business economic standpoint, it's way more profitable.
Yeah.
So, and we can get into whatever aspect of that you want, but it's been an interesting path, not perfect path, but a very interesting and fast-paced path. I'll put it
Yeah.
that way. Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
can you, I know if I don't ask this question, I'm going to get peppered with,
Sure.
Slack, all the things.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of folks out there that um, are going to be really interested to understand like how you do successful cold outbound. Like anything that you can share.
Yeah. So I'll go through kind of the evolution cycles of what we went through, right? So if you look at our first year, um, our attributed revenue was probably about, I don't know, maybe 60/40. Probably about 60% of it was we were in pretty much every high ticket mastermind out there. So we would join these groups. Um, the founders would ask us what we do. We'd show them and they'd go, holy crap, this is, interesting. We're on HubSpot. Can you help us? Right. And then we'd help them. Right. And then the community would kind of trickle down in. So I would say in our first year, and this isn't exaggerated at all, we probably spent, I think our first year we did around 2, 3 million, somewhere in the range of that. Um, we spent probably about 60% of our yearly revenue on these masterminds, probably somewhere in the range of 800 to a million. I mean, it was a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
every single one that we could find, we were going into. And really what was happening is we were getting these very significant figures in the space that we're in, providing a ton of value, then eventually getting invited to speak or speak at an event or do something like this for their groups or whatever the case may be. And that was our demand gen
Yeah.
for the first year, right? Now, the 40% came from just having very good referral procedures and setups and just having a lot of organic traction there. Um, and so we relied on that for a very long time. Now, when you're in the process, especially if you're in a service-based business, relying on referrals is scary,
Yeah.
right? We weren't a retainer based, we were a project based first year,
Okay.
meaning we were not going into companies and saying, hey, just pay us X amount of dollars a month and we'll do your HubSpot stuff. You came to us, we had a very specific way of building our setter systems, our closer systems, our show rate, our follow up, our onboarding, our client journey, our upsell renewal, all these different pieces.
Yeah.
So they would come to us and we would specifically build one of our quote unquote engines for them, right? And that would come with a project fee. Um, so we weren't an MRR based company, we were a project based company and upsell and renewal company on those projects. So relying on referrals and having the team size that we had at the time um, was scary,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And our
Yeah.
margins were super low because we were doing pretty much anything and everything that we could to complete the scope, right? And first year, if you're in a service model or in this realm of things, scope creep is an uncontrollable animal.
Hmm.
And it will ruin your entire company because you're going to have projects where you're actually going under 5, 10, $15,000 and you won't even know about it until you actually close out the books or do anything properly with, capacity management, margins, daily costs on projects, etc.
Mm.
Um, and of course, this is year one, so we were just sprinting, right? So,
Yeah.
anyways, going through that, one, we realized that our control on the scope was basically mitigated to how experienced the individuals that we were working with were, meaning like, is our definition the same as what's in their head,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And scope creep really hit us hard. We were trying to figure out how to do that, trying to figure out how to set proper boundaries, all these different pieces. So, anyways, we then transitioned into a model where, and this is kind of year two, this is where we got, a nice 2, 3x in our overall yearly revenue was we switched to a model where instead of running, and I'll get into how we were generating our leads, but instead of bringing people into a sales cycle and selling them a project, we would bring them into the sales cycle, identify problems, and then we would sell them an audit. So our audit prices were anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000. If you wanted us to come in person, it's 20K. We'd fly out. If you wanted us to do a regular audit, it was 5, depending on your size, it could be 10. And that was a 2 to 4 week process where we would go through, basically pull out all of your sales metrics, right? Identify the biggest areas of leverage, but with minimal impact, meaning, hey, your lead to booking percentage or your show rate or this or that or whatever the case may be, if we do a 3% here, a 2% here, and a 4% here over the next 90 days and establish that as your new standard, that means an extra $1.5 million a year for you. So here's how we're going to do that. Here's the scope. Here's the budget, right? Here's the timeline. So we were now getting paid to take people through our sales process.
Yeah.
Now, what that allowed us to do was one, you can think of it as a loss leader, right? So we were able to market. We had a price point that was sellable. I'll use that word, sellable to a cold audience, meaning they could come from an ad, they could go through a funnel, and they could be prepared to spend 5 instead of $40,000,
Yeah.
right? 5
Yeah.
they will do, right? So we were able to then really start to, one, remove me fully from sales, and two, we're able to actually understand the economics around our front end acquisition, right? Our sales cycle from the audit to the actual engine build of the project, what the time variables were, what our trailing indicators were, all this different stuff. So then the metrics all became very important for us, obviously on the front end. So, that was kind of our pivot number two is we put this audit in front. And really what that did is, anybody that's in this space will understand this. You'll have people, businesses that come in, they want you to scope out everything, give them every little answer. And the deeper that you go with them, the more questions that come up, the longer the meetings get. And then you get to the end and you present scope and they disappear.
Yeah.
So you just spent 6 weeks, 20 hours, maybe more, trying to do everything you can to get this individual feeling good, fully understanding. And worst case scenario, you have to do that with the sales director, then the CMO, then the founder. Or worst case scenario B, they disappear at the end, right? Or they give you the simple like, yeah, this is awesome. We're going to budget it for next quarter,
Yeah.
right? It's like, well, it's January, so you're talking about in 3 months. We're gonna have
Yeah.
to rescope everything again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyways, the audit eliminated that because we could present the audit as the next steps. If you're serious, this is what our process is. This is how we do it. This is what you're going to get at the end. If now is not a good time, it's all good. We'll schedule a call for next quarter, right?
Right.
So we were basically making our efficiency on our front end 1,000 times better, right? And now people were coming in, and the people that were serious, we could immediately get into an audit. We were safeguarded. And based on the budget, scope, timeline, all of that stuff, we were just crediting their audit price directly into our budget, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what allowed us to truly scale because now we could actually run our paid side. We could actually have our, basically our marketing costs liquidated for us on the front end of these audits. Our sales team was able to actually sell quickly in a sales cycle that was going to allow us to scale our setting team, our closing team, because at the end of the day, if you need somebody who has the skill set, the experience to be able to scope an entire project, you it's going to be damn near impossible for you to scale.
Yeah.
It's just not very possible. Or your quality goes way down, right? And your problems on the back end go way up, right?
Yeah.
So our, first year it was all referrals, networking, relationships, masterminds. The second year, um, we really started getting rolling on paid. So we were never, and I know you said cold outbound. We have never done cold outbound ever. We've
Hmm.
never done cold data. We've never done cold email. We've never done cold DMs. We've never done any of this stuff. It's always been inbound. So really, year two is what started our paid, which we were able to market to cold audiences, but it was still all inbound, right? They were coming through VSL, opt-in, application, book a call. We had our setters calling the standard process. But um, with that, I think really what unlocked it for us is we were trying to market initially. So this is actually a funny story. So we spent our first like $15,000 in ad spend with generating like 6 leads, like total. And I'm not like, I'm
Yeah.
saying like leads, like no bookings, no applications,
Yeah.
nothing. Just like 6 crappy fake phone number leads, right?
Yeah.
And the message that we were using was like, hey, we're a HubSpot partner. We build HubSpot, right? Like we
Right.
do
Right.
like, and the reality is no one cares. Like,
Yeah.
what problem do you solve, right? What problem are you solving? Like that at the end of the day, that's kind of what shifted us. Um, I can't remember who told us this, but they're like, look, you market to the problems you solve. You don't market to what you do. That's it. Right. So we had this big shift and we started, okay, well, let's take a look at all of our, last 100 projects and let's see where our biggest areas of improvement with all of these projects are. And we found show rate, we found lead to booking, we found lead to close, right? We found reactivated revenue. So drop off revenue coming back into the actual, hitting the bank account,
Yeah.
setter efficiency closer. So we just started taking all of these pain points that we truly solve extremely well for. And instead of leading with we're this partner, which again, no one cares. Like you may find somebody that's like, oh, I'm actually looking for a HubSpot partner right now, but you have no differentiation between like what else is out there when you just scream that message, right?
Yeah. Right.
At the same time, if our messaging and our asset, all of our collateral, all of our front end stuff is around specific metrics that we know are problems, right? We know people don't necessarily know how to solve.
Yeah.
They're problem aware, so they're going to attract to our ads better, which obviously is going to increase our CTR. It's going to
Yep.
increase our average cost per lead, or decrease our average cost per lead. It's going to increase our throughput on the funnel because we can say the same message and go all the way through.
Yeah.
So, I'll give this example. Like, I'm a HubSpot partner. Here's what we do with HubSpot. This is why we're great, right? You should book a call versus you have a show
By the
rate
way, you
problem.
you you just described 99% of
I
partners,
know.
right?
I know. Yeah. So I'm saying this, but
Yeah.
versus, for example, your, you have absolutely no visibility on your metrics. You think show rate is your problem. You think this is your problem. Like, let me show you why and what actually is your issue. Tile that back down to credibility and build that in throughout the funnel, right? Hint at the HubSpot stuff as our, hey, this is our preferred, right, method of doing this. Right now, I'm attracting people that are looking at HubSpot, have heard about HubSpot, they're interested in HubSpot. I'm attracting people on HubSpot who have this specific problem, all this
Yeah.
stuff, and my funnel builds throughout all the way into the call,
Yeah.
right? So, anyways, we flipped everything on its head, and it really started to work for us. We went from $15,000 at literally a $15,000 loss to spending 20, 30, 40, 50, $60,000 a month in paid, and having a massive return on our front, basically our 30-day ROAS, right? And our 90-day and our 6 month and our, right, all these different things. So,
Yeah.
um, anyways, I think the reason, and I'm thinking about this now, that we never went all in on the, um, standard approach where it's like, hey, uh, let's work with HubSpot to get more deals and leads is one, um, we realized very quickly that, HubSpot reps have a focus of closing deals, right? Obviously, right? They need to hit quota, these things, et cetera. And they're looking for partners to help them close deals, right?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
looking for clients. We don't care if they're on HubSpot or not, right? We don't mind. We're looking for people that we want to work with. And whenever we would go or approach or try to make this kind of work, our process just didn't match with it at all, right? It just didn't work. It was not very connected. So um, we never went the approach of like trying to do the standard kind of, I don't know, partner route.
Yeah.
We always wanted full control over the front end acquisition of our own clients, our own deals, and we wanted to dictate the process our way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyways, that was kind of year two and how we were actually doing this. So year two, we were able to establish the setting team, the closing team. We were able to establish our marketing messages. We were able to figure out what we were good at, what kind of creative and what kind of funnel structure and all of these different things gave us the best return. And obviously, that is what allows you to scale, right?
Yeah.
Which is exactly where we ran into our holy shit, we need like 50 more people on the back end like tomorrow. How are we going to do this, right? And that's where our very kind of unique approach to how we, one, do everything today, but also two, how we were doing things back then started to become a thing, right? We were able to just go back and kind of dissect what we've always done and start putting it together in a process that, one, we could control our margin, right? Because a lot of the times, I mean, if you lined up, I don't know, 100 integration, RevOps, project-based, whatever, or managed service businesses in front of me that were, not super established, let's call it year 1 through 3 or 4, maybe like 5 of them would be able to tell you, hey, this is my cost per day per my pod that's working on these types of projects. These are my margins after 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. These are my margins if we finish the project 15 days early, 30 days early. These are my margins if we go over 15 days on timeline. These are my margins if we go over 30. Oh, and we make nothing and we actually lose money if this individual who are managing these projects spend more than X amount of time, which happens at the 90-day mark. So we were now able to really kind of break down our entire economics around how we were fulfilling. And then, sorry, this is just a random thought, but one thing that I see all the time is, and we did this a lot in the beginning, we tried to deliver as much of anything and everything that we could all at the same time up front in these projects. And the analogy I like to use is like, imagine going to a restaurant and great experience walking in, ambiance, etc. And you make your order, whatever, and the server brings your drinks, your appetizers, your entree, your dessert, your coffee, and your ice cream all at the same time and lays it down on the table. Like that's what happens a lot of times when people do fulfillment on projects.
Yeah.
You have to lay it out in an approach that for us, we have basically a golden rule is if we're doing a system change, improvement, adjustment, whatever, where training's involved, right? A 30-day gap before that role gets impacted by any additional changes has to happen. So we force adoption, right? Meaning if we go in and change the front end way that setters are prioritizing leads and they have a new power dial process or whatever the case may be, we're going to do that. And then we're not going to change anything else for them for the next 30 days. And what that allows us to do is lay down the appetizer. Okay, hey, how was the appetizer? Oh, it was amazing. So good. Super excited. I can't wait for the entree, Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, now let's work on the closing portion, right? Okay, great. We've
Yeah.
got good throughput on the front end now. We've got really good throughput. Here's our increase from last month to this month, right? Against your baseline, which is the trailing 90 days that we snapshot at the beginning of this project. Closing process is really buttoned up. It looks really strong. We're now going to go into show rates and reactivation because you have a solid foundation. Now we can build on top and below that process, right?
Yeah.
And those pieces aren't going to impact process change or system change. It's just going to enhance what those roles are doing. So, I'm saying this because in year 2, like we had to figure that out in a really hard way, which was, doing more and more and more for clients that were never really happy, right? Like you run into all these issues and you try and feel like, why is this happening? Okay,
Yeah.
well, for us, it was because we were delivering so much at the same time. We had to chop it up.
Yeah.
And that kind of led us to what we do now today. But that was the start to our setter engine, closer engine, show rate engine, reactivation engine, our marketing engine, our all these different things, and really productizing our offer to where now when people come to us, we can dissect their issues. We can show them how to actually do this stuff. This is what we do. And if it fits, it fits. If it doesn't, we're not interested, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's what we've spent the last 5 years building for this specific use case, structure, process, style, etc. We're not a come in and do custom, 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 custom to do person, right? And I think a lot
Yeah.
of companies in this space, they operate as like an ER, if you will, like an
Yeah.
emergency room,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
They're on retainer for months at a time, and
Yeah.
it's,
We'll do anything.
hey, Brian, we've got this issue, that issue, that issue, right? Whereas
Yeah.
we're, coming in now, we're more of like a, look, we're going to do everything to keep you out of the ER, right? And this is our process. So we're doing a lot more, I would say, to make things really healthy rather than just be around to fix stuff, right? And that was
Yeah.
something we really had to, and we struggled with trying to figure out, are we going to be a retainer or are we going to be more of a project based? And, year two is us figuring that out. So I'm going to pause there. I'm a Celsius in. So, um, but yeah, I mean, anyways,
It's incredible. And I'm getting slacks all over the place. People are very excited about what you're talking about. Two things that stand out to me um, are one, uh, it may be a common practice for you, but I don't think it's common across the ecosystem, which is sizing what's possible as part of the audit. Like I think what we hear an awful lot of times of folks come in and do the audit, paid or unpaid, and they talk about what's broken or like what could be fixed. But I don't see a lot of people. You mentioned specifically, hey, if you do this and you get a 2% increase in this, it means this for you in terms of your revenue and growth, which I think is just an extraordinary practice, not just a best practice. Um, and
I'm
then
happy
the
to go a little bit deeper on that if you want me
yeah,
to.
yeah,
Um, so there is like feature selling, right? Hey, we're going to build you this thing, this thing, this thing. We're going to fix that thing. We're going to fix that thing, right? And a lot of companies just try and find as many things as they can fix, right? Or that they can build. Our approach has always been, especially with our projects, and I've got 10 rules for how we scope our projects that are bulleted exactly our principles around how we derive scopes.
yeah,
Um, But the most important one is we're not building, adjusting, improving anything that does not drive direct performance increase to the metric that we pick out for that phase in the scope. If it's anything else, if it's oh, we should build that or we need to do this thing or whatever the case may be, and it doesn't lead directly back to that one metric that we're trying to focus on for that specific phase of the scope,
yeah,
it goes into our shiny object backlog parking lot, right?
yeah,
And what that allows us to do is one, it allowed us to finally take control over scope creep. But then the second piece is we're going for a result. We're not here to just be a fix it to do. That's not the setup we have. And to be clear, you can build a really great company being the fix it to do retainer guy or
yep,
business, right? For
yep,
us, that's just not what we did. It wasn't exciting for us, right? We wanted to build this thing and then at the end of the 90 days, we wanted to completely reestablish their baseline metrics, which is their trailing 90-day snapshot.
yeah, yeah,
So um, our scopes are 100% focused towards specific metrics that give us the biggest lift in revenue, profitability, whatever it might be, time, right? I'll give you a perfect example for a project that we are going into right now. Um, so we're running our audit, right? We're going through all of these different things, and what we ended up doing was we took all of their setters and we found their peak hours of dialing. So when they were back to back to back to back, right? And what we found is their current process. Okay, mind you, this company has like a 40% plus lead to booking percentage, looks super healthy, right? Really fast growing, multiple six figures a month, many tens of millions of dollars a year.
yeah,
Their Time between dial for their front end setters was an average about 2 minutes and about 30 seconds to 3 minutes in their highest peak time frames. Okay. So we
Yeah.
took their number of dials that they're doing on average per month, and we basically times that by the number of in between time, right? So take that times two, right?
Yeah.
And what we found is they were spending about 80 to 90 hours in between dials updating specific things in the CRM that all could have been automated, right?
Wow.
That's a find that we now know this is going to increase the metric that we're trying to impact right now for this phase. This is going into scope.
Yep.
We are going to do X, Y, and Z to try and get this specific dial between number down by 50%. Why? Because now instead of 80 hours a month, they're going to be doing in between stuff for 40 hours. What do you
Yeah.
think that does?
Yeah. Yeah.
Increases lead to close, lead to booking. We have better conversations, faster speed of lead times, all these different components, which for this company, a 2-3% lift on the specific metrics that we were looking at is, millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, it's important that you're curious and intrigued by the deeper layers of the numbers. You don't just look at stuff by surface level, and you definitely don't just look for what features are you not using,
Yeah.
because that's a complete waste of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Oh, I love this. I love this. And I think others do as well. I know they do. The other thing that you mentioned that obviously there's a lot that stands out, but you mentioned you've got a sales process. You've got a process and a methodology around sales that's like, I mean, it's reminiscent of HubSpot with marketing, right? Like HubSpot had the marketing inbound methodology before it was a thing. Like that's how you're going to market. Like you're making people excellent at sales. And HubSpot's a part of it, but it's not what you're doing, which is I think differentiated.
yeah, HubSpot. So we look at our engine structure, right? The engines I'm talking about, the setter, the closer, the show rate, the reactivation, the referral engine, all these different engines.
Yeah.
If you break it down, it's a role, right? So it's a person,
Yeah.
right? It's a process, right? The role is how you can actually set, expectations and give somebody accountability, right? So that's the role, that's the KPIs, the comp, the person, what they're accountable to doing every day, right? Then you have the process, which is the step by step, how do we repeat results, right? And then you have the platform. The platform is 33% of the equation,
Yeah.
right? The platform is what gives that process and that role scalability, capacity, all of these things, right? So the way that we look at HubSpot is that is our vehicle to wrap the process and the role in, right? But if we're just looking at the platform, it's just not exciting to me. I want
Yeah.
to I want to look at the role. I want to look at how you're driving that person. I want to look at how they're being managed. I want to look at all these different components.
Yeah.
And when I'm building the engines, that's the first thing in mind is the role that, what is their expected results and how do we address that, right? So it's for us, each engine is a three-part equation. It's 33% role, 33% process, and then you have the platform that wraps it up, which makes it the engine, right? So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, again, I mean, we love HubSpot. We sing its songs. It's, it is our platform of platforms, right?
Yeah.
And it's what allows us to do what we do. But at the same time, like, we're, it's like 33% of what we do,
Yeah.
right? So,
Well, I mean, that's sort of what I heard all day long in my past life was, when it was the methodology, the customer would come to me and I could train them on the methodology and help them improve their business performance. When it becomes about the product, they go to the OEM. They go to the maker of the product and the platform. So like what role is the partner playing in that equation at that point, other than like passing them along to the platform? You've totally done it differently. You're adding the value, 2/3 of the value at least, right, in the conversation. So
in what part are you referring to? In the sales cycle?
yeah, like so what used to happen when HubSpot was a one product company, a marketing product,
Uh-huh.
they went to agencies and said, if you're doing marketing, do it on HubSpot. Great. If your customers are doing it, teach them about inbound, and happen to do it on HubSpot. It was about the methodology. It was about like achieving the business results back then. And then it became about the product. Like, inbound is inbound, whatever, as they introduce more products, sales products, service products, and so on, the conversation naturally turned towards like the platform itself and less about like the, let's say, the methodology or the business outcome that people are looking for.
Yeah.
So if that's the conversation, the customers are going directly to HubSpot. Like, what's
Right.
the partner doing?
Yeah.
And you're going back to, or not even back. I mean, it's just how it should be done. Like you're focused on the
Yeah, we're
results.
not selling like, so if a prospect is in a conversation with us and they're wondering about features and this and that and how it looks and this and demo the platform for me, do this, do that. Um, I mean, we will at a certain point, but only when we know what's relevant for them,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
I don't care to show you what everything is inside of HubSpot because I don't even know what you actually need right now.
yeah,
Right? So we're just focusing on like the problem first, right? And then when we get to the platform side, if they're not on HubSpot, we're migrating them there. Okay, cool. Here's what you're going to need. This is going to be how you're going to get the best pricing for it,
yeah,
right? These are all the components that you're going to need for the next XYZ time frame, right? If you want to, you know, uh, negotiate or whatever, like this is kind of the approach that we would take. Here's what we think we can get it done for, and like that's it, right?
yeah,
And then when it comes time, if people are unfamiliar, I mean, for us now, I mean, a lot of our clients are people that have been on HubSpot for a long time and they're dealing with a tornado of tornadoes inside of their environments. They've gone from partner to partner to partner. Um, they try to do it themselves. A lot of our clients are on the, I would say, larger side now, and have been there for a while. We, of course, have a ton of these companies that are on other platforms that need to migrate in. And in that process, it's not about the demo by any means. It's
mhm,
about what results and metrics can we impact by you coming over here? And is it going to be worth it for you long term? This is why, right? We're going to be able to centralize X, Y, and Z. Right now, you're fragmented all over the place, right? Until we know the problem and what we're solving for, then the features don't matter, right?
yeah,
So, um, anyways, and HubSpot makes it pretty easy. Like if you know what you're doing with HubSpot,
yeah,
you can show somebody the platform for 15 minutes, and as long as you're showing them the right stuff and how it looks and what we're doing, why it's going to impact this, you're good. You don't need
yeah,
to spend 4 weeks going over features and this is what a contact looks like. Yeah,
yeah.
you shouldn't need to do that.
I
Now
love
on
it.
the early side, brand new companies, early people, very small, um, no CRM or system or software experience, right? Not used to this stuff. Like it's a different market, for
Yeah,
sure. They're probably going to need way less on we're going to build this massive machine for you and much more on, hey, you're just going to, instead of booking meetings manually, you're going to use this thing called the meetings scheduling tool. And then they go, oh my goodness, right? This is
yeah,
amazing. This makes it so much easier. Um, but that's not our market,
yeah,
right? So
yeah. Awesome.
anyways,
Well, I know I've got a bunch of other questions, but I'm sure others have questions for you too. If you're in the audience and you want to ask Aaron a question, feel free to turn your camera on and come off mute and ask away.
bring it on. Let's see. I think there was some in the chat,
Yeah,
maybe.
I've got one for you, Aaron. First of all, amazing, great stuff. This is absolute gold. Thank you for doing this. Um, you said lots of things that resonated. One of the lines that you used that just really hit home was like, "We're not the ER. We don't we don't want to be the triage center. Like, we're not where you go for emergencies. We're where you go to avoid the ER."
Yep.
Just totally fascinating. Would you dig a little more deeply there? I just want to get a better sense for like how do you, in practice, how do you manage that? Like, what are the types of things that you do for your clients to keep them out of what you would call the emergency room?
Well, so I talked a little bit about it. We're result focused, right? So we're shooting for a specific result out of the phase of the project scope that we're in, right? We're not there to be reactionary to whatever they might need, right? So when we're in doing what we're supposed to be doing and contractually tied to, right, we're building towards a specific result, right, that we're trying to get for that project. I think a lot of the times it's, what happens is you go in with a super broad scope, right? Hey, we're going to be your HubSpot admin, whatever, this, that, the third. And you have to really draw a very hard line there, because you could have like a broad scope and be project based, but then you become an ER because it's just they're driving, hey, we need this done, that done, this done, this done, this is broken, that report doesn't seem right, XYZ, right? And you can fall quickly into being the ER, even though you were a project based, outcome based type of, project, right? For us, as soon as we switch to the metric focus and like put that golden, it's in our agreements. It's literally in our agreements. It's unless something that we discover impacts the specific metric for the specific phase that we are in, which we dictate, right? It will not be added into the scope. It'll go to a backlog and we can look at it later down the line with you, right? But if it doesn't do what we're trying to accomplish, we're not even going to look at it, because it's just going to take away from what we're doing. And we are not here to be your 11 p.m. phone call because it's end of month and like you're freaking out because your show rate, whatever thing on your dashboard says XYZ and you can't figure out why. Like, hire somebody for that. We're not here to do that, right? You're going to waste your entire time with us if you're just giving us to-dos, right? So it took us a while to figure that out, but yeah, I mean, you either fully adopt that we are the ER team. That's our value prop. We're not just going to fix things, like we're going to fix them and we're going to deter from it breaking again, right? And we're going to be the one, instead of you figuring out, how to hire somebody, how to screen them, how to find the right person, how to get their experience, right? Like that's your value prop. Hey, you have a team of people that have 10 years plus experience doing this. We have way more capacity than anybody you're going to bring on. And like, we know this, we know exactly what you need. So any problem that you have, we can fix. Value prop A, right? Value prop B is what we have, which is a completely different approach, right? Now there, with our stuff, there may be stuff that we need to fix, but again, if there's a big long list of stuff that needs to be fixed before we do what we're doing, axe out 80% of it, because usually it's just a wish list or a freaking Santa Claus list of random things that they could think about, right? When you're getting into the project. And until you make it driven towards an outcome and like show them like, hey, I understand this is a worry, or you guys want to switch dialers, or you guys want this crazy integration over here, you guys want to do this AI thing or whatever, blah, blah. But truthfully, I couldn't care less about that stuff right now because it's not going to impact this. So let me ask you, do you still want this 3% lift here, bare minimum, or do you want everybody on your team spend off working on random things that we have no metrics for, that are complete ideas, that aren't actually even broken? You know what I mean? like, so I hope that helps, but it's you really have to choose what side of the coin you're on, right? And there was a time for a while where we were do a big project with us, then we'll do managed service. But what we realized is like for us, like, let us train your team. Like, you need an internal resource on this. Like, if you're a truly fast growing company, you don't rely on us, because we're not going to be able to do all these random things that you need done on a day-to-day basis. Like, even if you paid us $10, $15, $20,000 a month, like, I'd rather be spending time building my business, right? And my top resources, the ones that you really need, right? I want them focused on us and our business and our products and delivering better stuff, right? Innovating faster. I don't want them being rented out and fractionally an employee of yours for the next 6 to 12 months, right? Like, and that's also not the best solution for them in our case, right? Best solution for them is like, hey, bring your sales ops guy, bring your sales director into the scope. And then afterwards, like, and that's where our newest program has come into, which is our biggest revenue lever right now. But hey, your team comes up with all these ideas, and there's one person in your company, and a lot of the times it's the founder who knows how to actually build this stuff in the system, right? So you're now the bottleneck. You can't fix problems. You're completely inundated all the time. And everybody on your team is great at leading people, great at following process, but has absolutely no comprehension or capacity when it comes to actually leveraging what you're built off of, right? In our case, HubSpot, right? So we'd rather train them. We'd rather teach them our methodologies, teach them how to be metric, objectively focused, teach them our one metric, one basically solution per month type of approach after you get through a big build, teach them our scoping process, all these different things. We'd rather teach that to them and just give them everything that we would do, right? Continuing from that point. And that's going to be better results, faster, more scalable, and they can dictate because that's a true team member of theirs. We just realized we really didn't like that model for us very quickly because we just kept getting dug deeper, deeper, deeper. And it's like, hey, guess what? We did 150 hours for you last month. We're charging you $5,000. I lost 10 grand on your project. I know you're super happy. Love working with you guys, but like if you wanted this same approach, like we would need to probably quadruple retainer, and we're still not even safeguarded there, right? So anyways, I hope that was probably a long-winded answer, but yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Aaron, and I'm sure others have questions, but we're running a little bit short on time. One last question for you, I suppose. Any other advice that you would have for experts in the community that are listening to this or joined, or anything that you wish that we had talked about, with regard to the journey that people don't understand, that you feel like they should understand?
The people in the community, what kind of range are they in terms of like revenue, headcount, like, and are they all specifically more focused on either software integration partner type of services, HubSpot specifically? Like, can you just paint me a little bit more of a picture?
Yeah, the common denominator is HubSpot and the ecosystem of connected apps and integrations. In terms of the size, it really runs the gamut. You have aspiring experts, you have aspiring, contractors, you have folks who are solopreneurs, teams of one, all the way up through 200-person partners.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing I had to figure out and the biggest learning curve that I went through was early on, you're going to get stuck in other people's businesses, right? And you can do really well. And if you're happy with that, like, hey, I just want, 5, 10, 15 clients, and like, I'm gonna have a super small team, me and an EA and maybe one support, whatever. But I mean, I didn't want that. And it took me a long time to kind of understand what was going on. I, for the longest time, was, the driver in fulfillment, the driver in sales, the driver in all these different things. And what truly allowed me to start kind of building a real team and really kind of starting to actually properly scale. And this will be obvious to the bigger companies, but as a, self-employed person, solopreneur, small team entrepreneur, do everything hat man, right? To, I'm not going to say a CEO, but an actual CEO responsibility type of role.
Yeah.
I put all of my time and energy into the product, right? So everything that I was spending all my time was, how do we just increase these results when we do this? How do we bring this time back? And until I just took all of my focus off of, I'm going to do everything for the client, into, I'm going to build something that's so good that anybody can put into the client.
Mhm.
I was not able to scale at all. And it was very hard to scale. And that period sucks. It sucks because your revenue is going to drop. You're going to have some unhappy clients. You're going to go through the first true test phase of like actually starting to transition into just a more business owner type role on a day-to-day basis. And when you get on the other side of that, you're going to be looking around like, wait, what the hell do I do? And you're going to try and jump back into it, and you need to stay out. But yeah, I think, if more people spent more time thinking about what they can deliver in terms of like their IP or their process, or what thing makes them really cool and really awesome, what they're super excited to show, and bring into businesses, and less on, I'm just really good at like problem solving and like you can pay me and I'll do all these things for you. You're not going to really scale. It's just not going to happen. And if you're bootstrapped, we're fully bootstrapped. We've never done anything. You run into some really tough periods during that time, but honestly, it's when business gets fun. When you spend 3, 6 months really truly building something that you feel really good about, that, you know, you're excited to go deliver and you're excited to train internal team members, and now you have a replicate, you can bring in team members, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it gets enjoyable. I mean, this model that we're talking about, it's new business, pipeline being full, and it's new hires, talented hires being full,
Yeah.
right? Like you need both. And a lot of people wait on this for a very, very long time, and they just pick up people who come across them.
Yeah.
And it will hit pretty hard at a certain point. So yeah, I don't know. I would just say, I mean, enjoy what you do, have fun with it, and build some badass stuff and focus on that rather than spending all of your time being in the service model of what you do. Like at some point, you're gonna have to switch from selling your time in a service model into a very specific product or service. And that's a very complicated, interesting situation to be in if you're the founder, especially if you've never done it before. So anyways, I don't know where I was going with that fully, but I hope that helps. Bring
Yeah,
some
this is
insight,
great.
you know?
Yeah. No, this is fantastic. So, Aaron, thank you so much for joining Sales Momentum, the last sales system overhaul you'll ever need, for sure. And yeah, just appreciate you sharing your insights and your time with us. This was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, appreciate it, Brian, as always. And if they have questions or whatever the case may be, send them over. I'll drop you guys a loom, or I'm not sure how the community works, but um, yeah, guys, hope this is valuable and reach out. Talk
Sounds
soon.
great. Awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Brian.
Aaron. Thanks, everybody.